Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to yet another Incursio the Gamer Dungeons & Dragons quick build video. Today we have with us the Princess of Manchaland, Rodion. Now, three things first. One, I'm recording outside. My roommates are all asleep, and there's no actual good places inside to record now that I'm realizing because everywhere has an echo. This is the best I can do, so if you guys hear cars or birds, I'm so sorry. Two, I'm going to be uploading my Prince of Merceau video tomorrow, and this one's coming out today. So you guys absolutely have fun with that. I mean, yeah, you guys get to build some synergy, maybe with the manager Dawn as well. And last thing, more and more videos, because the Earl King Heathcliff and Catherine are going to be coming out as dual bosses on Friday, which is Halloween. Happy Halloween, everyone. So yeah, this is a very video-filled week as an apology to make up for last week having virtually nothing. So let's get right into this. Let's talk about our dear Rodion in Limbus, of course. She is a second kindred. She's from Manchaland. She's a bloodfiend ID, basically. She has really good stats, good health, good speed, good defense, and some pretty good attack stats. Now, what she is a bleed ID, and she consumes blood feast and pretty much, applies a little bit of blooming thorn. Blooming thorn, what it does is gives defense levels, as well as, later on, there is something that it helps with, Festive Fever, which gives more damage. She's a very good support unit, and for some reason she also has Rupture in her ID. Now, of course, just like every other Blood Fiend, she has the Blood Feast passive, as well as Hard Blood Thorn, which allows just basically more bleed damage and more Blooming Thorn. And also, just because she can, some healing. So that's really nice about her, and now that we've gone over that, let's talk about her actual D&D build. She's going to be female Shadar Kai with Bard 3, Warlock 3. Now, College of Whispers is my personal take, and the Fiend is what I could do. Now, I'd personally say the Undying is better, but the Fiend will, do in the case where you don't have the Undying book, in which I don't have. Level 6, just keep in mind, that's all I build. You guys build from here on out. I'm only creating a foundation for you guys. You're going to hear me say this next video too. Now, Strength is going to be your lowest stat for stats. Dexterity, Charisma, and Constitution will be your highest. After all, you're a Blood Fiend, and she is quite fast. That's a pretty good speed range for the time she came out. As well as Charisma being high because of, well, Warlock and Bard. Now, you have 30 walking speed, 15 AC, 4 initiative, 45 hit points, and defense is necrotic resistance, and immune to magical sleep. This is pretty standard stuff for a, Shadar Kai, for a Bard, Warlock, all that kind of stuff. You don't have the best stats in the world, but with what you have, you're going to do really good with. For saving throws, Dexterity and Charisma are going to be your proficiencies, advantage to avoid or enter the charm condition. For your passive stats, you have 14, 12, 14 respectively, and Dark Vision 60 feet. Here are your proficiencies. Let's talk skills now. Half proficiency for everything because you're a Bard, but actual proficiency in Arcana, Insight, Perception, and Religion. Religion, well, I mean, there's not really much there, but you could say that's, the worshipping of the Blood Fiends, or the filial piety to your father, the father Blood Fiend to you, at least. And there's also Deception and Performance in Expertise, because, well, she's the princess. She, kind of controls all these blood fiends and blood bags of the parade. And there's also the performance aspect where she is quite literally the princess of the parade. Now, moving on, let's get into our actions. 1 attack per action. She has her dagger rapier, which she doesn't really need. You can consider those her umbrella, or maybe conjuring up blood weapons in the moment of combat. Now, of course, you also have your spells, which is where it's at. Thorn Whip, Chill Touch, Eldritch Blast. These are going to be your main 3, as they are cantrips. Chill Touch, it doesn't allow them to heal after you touch them. That's pretty standard stuff. You can flavor that Blood Fiend away. Thorn Whip, Long Whip, it's pretty self-explanatory. Whip made out of blood. And lastly, Eldritch Blast. That's just blasting things from the tip of her umbrella, really. It has 120 feet range, so that one's pretty standard. Now, of course, you have your dash, disengage, dodge, grapple, shove, and let's move on to bonus actions. You have Healing Word, which heals, as you are a Blood Fiend after all, mostly healing yourself. You also have Bardic Inspiration for the Blood Fiends of the parade. You have Blessing of the Raven Queen, moving up to 30 feet, 3 times per long rest, and also gaining resistance afterwards to non-magical attacks. And yeah, that's pretty much it there. Reactions, opportunity attack, other. You have Mending. You have the Dark One's Blessing, regaining hit points when you, kill a creature. That's the healing aspect of the Blood Fiends. You also have Psychic Blades, which you can use your Bardic Inspiration to deal damage instead of buffing your allies. And lastly, Word of Terror. You can speak to humanoid alone, frightening it, or its allies, and if it succeeds, or if the target succeeds, it is not aware you use this ability. Pretty much the intimidation tactics, the absolute aura that was especially demonstrated by Cassetti during the warp train, which is an event going on right now, but anyways, that's pretty much what was happening, right? You could feel that dense aura. You could feel that he was, probably gonna kill you. He was different from the distortions and abnormalities, and Dante was going into that. But I'm sidetracking right now. Let's get right back into this. We also have our limited use, but you've seen pretty much everything here. Let's talk our spells. This is where it's all at. For cantrips, you have Chill Touch, Dancing Lights, Eldritch Blast, Mending, Mind Sliver, Spare the Dying, Thaumaturgy, Thorn Whip, and Vicious Mockery. Most of these are very self-explanatory, but for the ones that aren't, for example, Dancing Lights and Mending. Dancing Lights is, of course, going to be the parade, and Mending is going to be, using blood to make items, fixing items. Mind Sliver, that's also pretty up there. Just the absolute aura that you gain. Same with Vicious Mockery, from being a bloodfiend and being intimidating to any of your prey. You get the point. Thaumaturgy, more noises for the parade. That's pretty much it there. First level spells. Armor of Agathes, just hard blood armor. You pretty much say that. Arms of Hadar, just more necrotic damage. That's pretty much mostly it. For Bane, Command, Fairy Fire, you also have False Life, at will. So you can pretty much heal whenever you want. Healing Word is good, Inflict Wounds is really nice, but you only have one use of it. And Thunder Wave. Thunder Wave is what I see as that enhanced skill 3, where she just, boom, out of the tip of her umbrella or her parasol, absolute explosion of psychic and necrotic energy everywhere. But it's thunder damage. You take it as you will. For second level spells, you have Borrowed Knowledge, Mirror Image, and Suggestion. Suggestion's really nice because, I'm assuming some Bloodfiends have some hypnotic, features, some traits in that sort of sense. Most vampires do. I don't see why the Bloodfiends shouldn't. Now, of course, if I want to create a completely lore-accurate Bloodfiend, I'd make, say, vulnerability to cold damage, but, this is a player character. We're going to do with as little debuffs as possible. For our inventory, you have your dagger, your rapier, your studded leather, and a loot. Not many items. She's a spellcaster after all. For features and traits, let's start off with the class Bard. You take a bunch of proficiencies: Arcana, Deception, Performance. You also have Bardic Inspiration, Jack of all trades, Song of Rest. You take College of Whispers is my personal favorite. I like Performance and Deception as your expertise. Psychic Blades and Words of Terror are also really nice. For Warlock, the Fiend is good. I just like it. Undying is best, Fiend is next best up. That's me personally. You have Dark One's Blessing. You have Agonizing Blast and Fiendish Vigor, which allows False Life to be cast at will, and Agonizing Blast is just more damage. So I just really like that. Pact Boon, of course, I took Pact of the Tome, allowing for more spells: Chill Touch, Dancing Lights, Thorn Whip. These are all really good spells. For species traits, you have, of course, the Shadar Kai. They're very unique. I've used them once before. Now, let's talk about them. Elf, pretty much, but with, Blessing of the Raven Queen, so teleportation, with Dark Vision, with Necrotic Resistance, automatically Trance. I took Flute and Lute as, some instruments, because, she has to be able to perform. Look at all of these tools that she's so proficient with. They're all instruments, except for the Calligrapher's supplies. But moving on from that, you also have your feats. Magic Innate, Cleric from your background. You take it from Acleote. And I took Charisma, so Spare the Dying, Thaumaturgy are all good, and Inflict Wounds at once per long rest. I really like the Inflict Wounds spell, especially when used at higher levels, but unfortunately, I didn't take it with my other spells with my class, so we're doing with what we can. For your background, of course, pretty standard stuff, all dumped into Charisma. I got a 15 on that. But alignments: Chaotic Neutral, female with red eyes, medium size, about 6 foot. That's Rodion's height in canon. Faith of La Manchaland, or the family in this case, because this is after everyone pretty much, alternate universe, rebelled against the original Don Quixote. Sancho is just Sancho. She has brown hair, pale skin, about 232, so I just tagged on a 200 at the end of that, and 140 some odd pounds. She is, just ideal in this case. But anyways, add whatever you want to personality, appearance, notes, and extras. And ladies and gentlemen, that is, for today, the Princess Rodion. I will upload Mersault tomorrow, but I'm recording him the same day as Rodion because I'm in the mood. And I'm also outside, so I might as well do it. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching this one. Sorry for there being such a, lag in time. But until next time, I guess. See you then. Goodbye. and good night.